What is up, my cutouts card Dward Ninja here, coming at you with the Enemy in Reflection update. New brawls, which would be Crazy Dash, Enemy in Reflection, and Judgment Knight, have been added into the game. Crazy Dash is basically standard Crossout with your, pick your cars, except you can dash left and right. You shoot people, you get rewards, standard shit. Get engineer badges, get a spotter's container, standard stuff. The Enemy in Reflection Brawl is actually interesting because of the fact that this is the Steppenwolf faction event. So for the several past years, there are those massive maps where you have to go and kill your enemies, and you've got your kills are worth the number of capture points that you have. This is the same map. It's going to be scavengers. Sorry. Steppenwolves versus Ravagers this time, though. So instead of just Steppenwolf versus Steppenwolf, you basically have your 4 vehicles or so that you can pick. You have X number of teammates. Though that X number of teammates can't have more than 3 of any individual vehicle. Scout usually is the most powerful, especially seeing as it looks like they removed radios and radars from any other vehicle. But Scout usually is the most powerful. Simply because of the fact that it's got mobility, and every one of these things has a weak point that you can just auto-cannon through. Next up is the leaderboard for... No, I'm sorry, it's the leaderboard for that. So, higher you are on the leaderboard, you get, rates. Odds are very good you're not going to be in positions, any of these, 1 to 3, 4 to 10, 11 to 50, or 51 to 500, unless you're a super mega tryhard, in which case you'll get an epic merchant case, 2 epic merchant cases, a legendary merchant case, or 2 legendary merchant cases. Those usually give you items of your choice of that rarity. Continuing on, during the Enemy in Reflection Brawl, there's going to be 2 new daily challenges: destroy 5 players in the brawl, and deal damage in the brawl. Judgment Knight Brawl. This is the one where you drive around. Judgment Knight is effectively Twisted Metal. Basically, it's Twisted Metal. The idea is, I'm sorry, I wish I could explain it better. Long story short, you're given a car and you go around and you blow people up. You pick up upgrades to your car. You pick up healing items for your car. You pick up ammunition for your car, and you basically you start off with whatever base gun that you get, which I think everybody starts with the equalizers, and then you upgrade. Either you'll get upgrade to arbiters, or you'll get a missile launcher, or what have you. Yeah. That's all. It's just the OG Twisted Metal, and of course it's going to come with its own thing. Most importantly, let's see here. There's brawls for players that you can now create. So it's a temporary event. It's not permanent yet, where you can create your own brawls, which is cool. But the reason why I'm skipping past all this is because first there's a weekly challenge for just any brawls, where you just earn 10k points in any brawls for 100 engineer badges, and that is in a chain that is changed. It used to be 10,000, now it's 8,000, which gets you 100, and another 10,000 gets you 150, so you get to do it twice. And by get to, I mean have to, but you get more engineer badges, so you can't really complain. The bridge and things like that have been optimized for flying, and they've also removed things that caused people to flip over, mostly rocks. Cap can nerf, we've been over this before, is now finally in the game. Basically, I don't know, I haven't yet to test it, but if you're moving too slow, you're fucked, so don't get caught by a cap can while slow. If your momentum's high enough, it will eventually break, and if your momentum is much higher, then it will snap immediately. This has to do with the speed that you are moving and the mass of your vehicle. We'll see how it goes, but in reality, the reason why this isn't going to matter is because no one drops 1 cap can. You drop 2 cap cans. So if you fall into this middle category, you're fucked. Because the first cap can will hit you, it will not break immediately and slow you down. And the second one will hit you, and then your momentum will be too low, and it will not break. So the strategy of bringing multiple cap cans is going to stay. The Jotun, 50% more explosion damage because they said it, and the puddle applies freezing 33% faster than it did before. The puddle applied freezing at just under half the rate that the incinerator applied heat. So now it's going to apply freezing at 75% of the speed of the incinerator applying heat. This means that the ice still is dog shit and will do nothing. This also does not affect the Jotun's perk. The perk says that it drains the power of any vehicles caught within the ice. That's not been changed. So yeah, it'll apply freezing effect, the value 33% more on each tick. you're not going to slow down any faster. So it's still useless. And the projectile explosion damage by 50%. Nobody uses the Jotun for direct damage. So that's not really that big of a buff. The Tormentor, of course, being nerfed so that it doesn't stack with itself, so you guys can't go around and one-touch people. But I went over this on my stream. A lot of people are worried that this is a massive nerf to melee. It's not. Sorry, just had to take a little sip. The reason why this isn't a massive nerf to melee is because melee right now is crazy overtuned. I went over this again on stream. When they changed resistances around, they reduced dramatically parts resistance to continuous melee damage. Not collision damage, but true melee damage. And true melee damage, the resistance is so low that weapons that did melee damage just cut through your build immediately anyway, including your frame. And so this minor nerf prevents you from just overclocking and going right through the frame, though a single Tormentor was enough to overclock your weapons before, but we'll see why that is not the case necessarily in the future, because it's going to be changes right down here that you can see. And I'll go over that more later. GL55 Impulse, apparently it was dominating 9k, so they nerfed it. Projectile size smaller, so it's harder to hit. Now requires more hits. Combine that with a smaller projectile, you have less damage bonus. The projectile bonus is now 10% lower. Cooling rate is reduced by 40%, and the ammunition is reduced from 150 to 75. Massive cock slap directly to the GL55. Just slapped it right on the dong. Just get that out of here. Honestly, once again, I wasn't experiencing that much domination from the GL55 against me because I wasn't using it, but so say at the Spider, if you a-holes were running around with GL55s, well, it's been nerfed just a little bit. They probably could have done all this by simply reducing the durability of the weapon instead, but whatever. So the Mauler and the Lacerator are the two melee weapons that were completely and totally gutting builds, and so they got nerfed. But remember, the damage, I already went over this before in my previous video, the damage reduction to the weapon isn't that much. I know it sounds like a lot, but it isn't that much. And the reason why it's not that much is because the damage resistance on all parts is so low. You're actually not going to see very much of a change. I just want to point that out. There will be a change, but you're not going to actually notice that much of a change. You're still going to tear right through people's frames. You're still going to rip their builds apart at almost the exact same speed. People build with light frame, and anybody who does, it doesn't matter that these do so little damage. Anything that's a light frame, that is a 1x frame, for example, is going to die immediately with a single touch from these weapons. The Narwhal got its buff. It cools for 35 instead of 20. Okay, so the Narwhal now cools at the exact same rate that the Mastodon heats. Mastodons apply 35% heat each, and now Narwhals are going to apply 35% cold each. The Narwhal's self-referential perk will get stronger faster, true, because if you hit them twice, assuming that you're using two Narwhals, if you hit them twice, you're going to be full stacked, and you're going to do plus 100% damage. Great. But in reality, it's not the cooling effect that limits the Narwhal, it's the bullet damage. So the Narwhal is heavily bullet damage based and not very explosive damage based. So it needs more explosive damage, to be honest. They just need to remove some of that bullet damage, convert it to explosive damage, and that'd be a better buff than this. The Fortune, fire rate reduced by 20%. Fortune too strong, nerf. Avalanche. You say Avalanche, and I say Avalanche. Yeah, no one does that. No one says potato. Anyway, the AM5 Avalanche. Massive buff. 30% blast damage increase, that's 60 damage. Penetration ability increased, which is technically a nerf buff. Because again, you've got 500 bullet damage going down range. 40% of 500 is like what, 120 something damage or something like that? 4, 8, 12, 6, no, it's more than that. It's like nearly 200 something damage, 210 damage or something like that. Now it's 70%, which means that the shell has a very high likelihood of going right through your opponent. So a non-direct hit is going to phase right through their build. 70% of 500 is a really high number. And that means that 70% of 500, you know what, hold on. We're just going to, I hate being this guy. I got to look. It's 500 times 0.7. That's 350 damage. There has to be 350 damage worth of parts to make your avalanche shot explode now. It's pretty crazy. Combine that with the flight speed increase of 24%. As we all know, you've already been able to use this with the whale cabin, and I think most people's avalanches are fused with the projectile flight speed increase. This all stacks with it. These the avalanche be zooming now. So look out for that, because avalanche shots are going to strip right through people, and they're going to do it at blazing speeds, or at least blazing speeds for an avalanche. Massive durability hike. You're looking at nearly 1,000 durability increases, like 880 or something like that. Mass is increased consummately by a lot. We're looking at over 1,000. We're looking at 1,600 or something additional mass. And the projectile impulse upon hit and recoil is increased. Again, I mentioned this before, they probably increased the recoil on this weapon so that it would work better with the whale cabin. So we'll see how that goes. This feels like an over-tuning, to be super honest. The Avalanche was already a fun weapon, and it was borderline viable. So we'll see that if it is now completely viable. Minor thing that they didn't bring up before that came out of goddamn nowhere is this miscellaneous change. The projectiles that have their own physics, i.e. the Fortune, Yangwang, and Porcupine balls, explode on contact with teammates. They don't do damage, there's no friendly fire, but they explode on contact with teammates now. So anybody who's ever played the game and has come across a Porcupine by an ally knows that it'll get right under your car, flip you over, you'll lose control of your vehicle, all that stuff. This solves that, but it also nerfs these guns. This is a minor nerf to the Fortune, Yangwang, and Porcupine, so you can no longer bounce shots off your friends. Though I don't think that's ever happened. This is also somewhat of a buff for the Porcupine, because let's assume that you've got, I don't know, a fire dog all up on your ally. Well, now you can just shoot your ally, and it'll leave down fire on the ground that will duke down all over the dog. Other than that, I don't think there's that much of a difference. Oh, the Whaler, there was a bug known, and no, by the way, anybody who if everyone remembers, I've made a video about penetration on the Executioner, Prosecutor, and Reaper not working. That's not in here. They didn't fix that. What they did fix was the Whaler cabin and artillery. So there was a problem with trajectory artillery, such as the Mandrake, where the additional 25% projectile velocity made the shots go anywhere. Anywhere in a bad way. It meant that you got your targeting reticule, but the projectiles did not follow the path. They would go 25% further off into the distance, hitting even nothing. Or I mean, if you were missing with your Mandrakes before, well, you're missing far, far, far more now. Other than that, I don't think there's anything here that would affect most people. Oh, that's right. Huge nerf to the armor track. Basically, you can't mount weapons with the armor track in a way that you can clip through the track and still shoot any longer. So that's gone. Sad. Sad. And I think that's it. Yeah. I think that's it that really matters to most people, unless people were mounting nostrils and tempura parts so close together that they leave to one blocking the other. Other than that, I think that is just about it. This patch is now live in Crossout. So hope you guys are having fun there. Well, yet again, more stuff. Also, good news for everyone. The rewards, I don't know if it goes over the rewards here. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. All that matters is one of the other mini passes that's now in the game is giving a reward of a Thor generator, I believe. And that's all that matters, which means that the price of the Thor is now going to plummet, which means the price of the Odin is now going to plummet, and everything is right with the world. Also, Sleipnir tracks are in that pack, so the price of Sleipnir tracks is also going to come down, and I think the price of Millers is also going to come down. So, that's all good stuff. Cool. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope this gives you information you didn't have before, considering most people don't tend to read this stuff, and they aren't really overly interested in reading through it all. But I do it for you, chat. I do it for you. All right. Peace.